Most people are absolutely destroying their stir-fry without even realizing it, and tonight, that stops. Here are 31 oddly specific hacks that will completely transform your wok game, counting down to the single most important thing you will ever learn about cooking Chinese food at home. Starting with number 31, using the wrong pan entirely. Most Americans reach for a non-stick skillet or a flat-bottomed stainless pan. Wonder why their food tastes nothing like the restaurant and never make the connection. Chinese people have been using carbon steel woks for centuries for a very specific reason. The rounded bottom concentrates heat into a single intense focal point, and that extreme, almost violent heat is what creates wok hei, the slightly smoky, slightly charred, deeply savory flavor that makes restaurant stir-fry taste completely different from home cooking. Go buy a 14-inch carbon steel wok, season it properly with oil over high heat until it turns dark, and commit to it. Your non-stick pan simply cannot get hot enough to do what a wok does. Number 30. Not preheating your wok long enough. Most people turn on the burner, wait about 45 seconds, pour in oil, and start cooking. Chinese cooks preheat their woks for 2 to 3 full minutes until the metal literally starts to smoke before any oil ever touches the surface. The reason this matters is thermal mass. A properly preheated wok sears your ingredients almost on contact, which means moisture evaporates instantly rather than pooling and turning your stir-fry into a sad, steamed, soggy mess. Put your wok on high heat, wait until you see a faint wisp of smoke rising from the center, then add your oil. Number 29. Adding cold oil to a hot wok incorrectly. Here's the thing most people miss. After your wok is smoking hot, you swirl the oil around the entire inner surface, not just pour it into the bottom. Chinese cooks coat the wok walls because ingredients travel up and down those walls during tossing, and you need the entire cooking surface to be lubricated and hot. Swirl a tablespoon or two of a high smoke point oil like peanut, avocado, or refined vegetable oil around the entire pan. Watch it shimmer immediately, and then add your aromatics within about 5 seconds of that moment. Number 28. Using extra virgin olive oil. This is a very common American mistake that actively fights against good stir-fry. Extra virgin olive oil has a smoke point of around 375 degrees Fahrenheit, and wok cooking requires temperatures that can exceed 600 degrees. When you heat olive oil that hot, it breaks down, burns, creates bitter compounds, and releases smoke that tastes acrid rather than appetizing. Chinese cooking almost universally uses refined oils with very high smoke points. Stick to peanut oil for an authentic nutty richness, or refined avocado oil if you want something neutral. Save the olive oil for your salad dressings. Number 27. Overcrowding the wok. This is probably the single most widespread mistake American home cooks make, and it ruins every batch. When you pile too much food into a wok, the temperature drops dramatically and instantly, and instead of searing, your ingredients begin releasing moisture and steaming themselves in that liquid. Chinese restaurants solve this by cooking in very small batches, often preparing individual portions in a single massive flash of heat. At home, never fill your wok more than 1/3 full. Cook your protein in one batch, remove it, cook your vegetables in a separate batch, then combine everything at the end with your sauce. Number 26. Cutting your vegetables in random sizes. Chinese cooks are almost obsessive about uniform cutting, and it is not just aesthetics. When pieces are the same size and shape, they cook in the same amount of time. If you have thick carrot chunks next to thin strips of bell pepper, the carrots will still be raw when the peppers are overcooked and mushy. Spend 2 extra minutes making your cuts consistent. For most stir-fry vegetables, thin diagonal slices about 1/4 inch thick work beautifully because the angled cut exposes more surface area to the hot pan, which means faster cooking and better caramelization. Number 25. Not understanding the order ingredients go into the wok. Chinese cooking has a very logical sequence that most American recipes gloss over completely. Hard, dense vegetables that take longer to cook go in first. Think carrots, broccoli stems, and snap peas. Softer vegetables that cook quickly go in next. Think bell peppers, zucchini, and mushrooms. Leafy greens go in almost last. Think baby bok choy and spinach. Aromatics like garlic and ginger go in right after the oil because they need heat to bloom their flavor but will burn if left in too long. Follow this sequence every single time and everything will be perfectly cooked simultaneously. Number 24. Not drying your ingredients before cooking. Moisture is the enemy of good stir-fry, and this point cannot be stressed enough. After you wash your vegetables, pat them completely dry with paper towels or let them air dry on a clean kitchen towel for at least 15 minutes. Chinese cooks understand that water on the surface of an ingredient instantly drops pan temperature and creates steam. If you throw wet broccoli into a screaming hot wok, the first thing that happens is a massive temperature crash that takes your beautiful searing conditions away entirely. Dry ingredients, hot wok, equals that gorgeous golden char. Number 23. Not velveting your meat. This is one of the most brilliantly practical techniques Chinese cooking has ever produced, and almost no American home cook knows about it. Velveting involves marinating your protein in a mixture of cornstarch, a small amount of baking soda, soy sauce, and sometimes egg white for at least 15 minutes before cooking. The cornstarch creates a protective coating that keeps moisture locked inside the meat. The baking soda actually breaks down the muscle fibers slightly, making even cheap cuts of chicken breast or beef stir-fry strips incredibly tender. Try it once and you will never cook stir-fry protein any other way. Number 22. Using the wrong soy sauce. This is something Chinese people navigate instinctively, but Americans often get wrong because a bottle labeled soy sauce at the grocery store could be several very different things. Light soy sauce is salty and thin and used for seasoning and marinades. Dark soy sauce is thicker, slightly sweet, and primarily used for adding color and a deeper molasses-like flavor to dishes. Most American recipes that simply say, add soy sauce, are typically referring to light soy sauce. If you use dark soy sauce in those quantities, your dish will be overwhelmingly dark and slightly sweet in ways that were not intended. Keep both on hand and learn which does what. Number 21. Making your stir-fry sauce in the wok instead of pre-mixing it. Watch any experienced Chinese home cook, and you will notice they have a small bowl of pre-mixed sauce sitting right next to the stove before they ever turn on the burner. Trying to measure and pour soy sauce, oyster sauce, sesame oil, and cornstarch individually into a screaming hot wok while everything is cooking at high speed is a recipe for disaster and inconsistent results. Mix your sauce ingredients together in a bowl ahead of time, taste it raw to check the balance, and have it ready to pour in as a single confident addition when the moment is right. Number 20. Adding sesame oil too early. Sesame oil is one of the most wonderful finishing ingredients in Chinese cooking, but it has a smoke point low enough that adding it at the beginning of cooking destroys everything that makes it special. The delicate, nutty, aromatic compounds that give sesame oil its gorgeous flavor are extremely volatile and will burn off completely under wok heat. Chinese cooks add sesame oil as an absolute last step, often after the wok has been removed from heat entirely. A teaspoon drizzled over the finished dish right before plating gives you that authentic aromatic fragrance that makes stir-fry smell incredible. Number 19. Not using Shaoxing wine, and it is holding your stir-fry back significantly. Shaoxing rice wine is a fermented Chinese cooking wine with a complex, slightly nutty, deeply savory flavor that appears in an enormous percentage of Chinese stir-fry recipes. Americans often substitute dry sherry or skip it entirely, and while dry sherry is a reasonable approximation, nothing truly replaces it. You can find Shaoxing wine in any Asian grocery store for a few dollars, and it lasts for months on your shelf. Add it directly to the hot wok after your aromatics have bloomed and before your other sauce ingredients. The heat evaporates the alcohol instantly and concentrates those deep savory notes into your food. Number 18. Using cornstarch incorrectly in your sauce. Cornstarch is the magic thickener that gives Chinese stir-fry sauces their glossy, clingy, restaurant-quality consistency, but using it incorrectly makes your sauce either lumpy, gummy, or starchy tasting. Always mix cornstarch with cold liquid before it goes anywhere near heat. Never add dry cornstarch directly to a hot pan. The ratio that Chinese cooks commonly use is about 1 teaspoon of cornstarch per quarter cup of liquid. Mix it completely until no white powder remains. Add it to your sauce bowl, and when it hits the hot wok, stir constantly for about 30 seconds until the sauce turns from cloudy to glossy and clear. That transformation is your signal that it is properly cooked. Number 17. Not getting your protein to room temperature before cooking. This applies specifically to beef and chicken strips. When you take protein directly from the refrigerator and throw it into a hot wok, the dramatic temperature difference means the outside starts cooking while the inside is still cold, leading to uneven cooking and toughness. Chinese home cooks typically take their marinated meat out of the refrigerator about 20 to 30 minutes before cooking so it can come closer to room temperature. This small habit means the heat penetrates evenly. Your protein cooks through at the same rate inside and out, and you get that juicy, tender result every single time. Number 16. Not using a wok spatula, and it is genuinely affecting your results. A regular spatula or wooden spoon does not work efficiently in a rounded wok because it cannot properly access the curved bottom and sides where the highest heat zones are. Chinese cooking utensils are specifically designed with long handles to keep your hands away from extreme heat and thin, angled heads that scrape cleanly along the wok surface. A carbon steel wok spatula costs about $8 and changes how you interact with the pan entirely. The ability to quickly and continuously move ingredients from the hottest center to the cooler sides and back is fundamental to wok cooking technique. Honestly, half these tips came from me forgetting what I'd already told people and just re-explaining it in a new video. So I finally sat down and wrote the whole thing down. Every trick like that spatula one, over 900 of them, so I'd stop repeating myself. It's live today if you want it. I'll leave a link in the description box down below. Now, back to the list. Number 15. Not blanching certain vegetables before stir-frying them. Chinese cooks frequently blanch dense vegetables like broccoli, cauliflower, and carrots in boiling salted water for 60 to 90 seconds before they ever go near the wok. This partial cooking gets the inside of the vegetable most of the way done so that the brief high heat of stir-frying can properly finish the outside with color and char without leaving the center raw and tough. After blanching, immediately plunge the vegetables into ice water to stop the cooking, then dry them thoroughly before adding to the wok. This technique is incredibly common in Chinese restaurant cooking and almost nobody does it at home. Number 14. Not using oyster sauce, missing an entire flavor dimension. Oyster sauce is a thick, dark, sweet, and savory condiment made from reduced oyster extracts, and it appears in an enormous range of Chinese stir-fry dishes. It adds a deep umami richness and a slight sweetness that rounds out the sharper saltiness of soy sauce in a way that nothing else quite replicates. Most Americans have either never bought it or bought it once and left it unused in the refrigerator. Add 1 to 2 tablespoons to your pre-mixed sauce bowl and taste the difference. For vegetarians, mushroom-based oyster sauce substitute exists in most Asian grocery stores and works very well. Number 13. Burning your garlic and ginger. In Chinese cooking, aromatics are added to hot oil to bloom their flavor, which means heating them just enough to release their fragrant compounds into the oil. This takes about 20 to 30 seconds of constant stirring over high heat. If you walk away or get distracted for even another 15 seconds, garlic goes from golden and fragrant to black and bitter, and once that happens, the entire dish tastes acrid. Keep your eyes on garlic and ginger the entire time they are in the pan. The moment you smell that incredible bloomed fragrance hitting your nose, it is time to add the next ingredient immediately. Number 12. Not understanding what high heat actually means on your home stove. This is a particularly American problem because most home gas ranges simply do not produce the BTU output of a commercial Chinese restaurant burner, which can exceed 200,000 BTUs. Your home burner might max out at 15,000 to 20,000 BTUs. Chinese people cooking professionally work around this with physical technique, cooking smaller batches at absolute maximum heat rather than larger batches at medium-high. Turn your burner to the highest possible setting, put your heaviest cast iron or carbon steel pan on it, and accept that you will cook in smaller portions. This is not optional. There is no workaround that replaces actual heat. Number 11. Adding your sauce too late in the cooking process. The sauce needs enough time in the hot wok to cook down, thicken through the cornstarch, and coat every ingredient evenly. Chinese cooks add their pre-mixed sauce when ingredients are about 90% cooked, not completely finished. This gives the sauce 45 to 60 seconds of high heat contact time to reduce slightly, bloom the flavors, activate the cornstarch thickening, and bind everything together as a cohesive dish rather than protein and vegetables swimming in watery liquid. If you add sauce to fully cooked ingredients and immediately pull the pan, you get raw tasting sauce with no depth and no proper texture. Number 10. Neglecting to taste and adjust at the end. Chinese cooking is fundamentally about balance between savory, sweet, salty, sour, and sometimes spicy. The best Chinese cooks taste their food multiple times during cooking and make small adjustments every step of the way. Before you plate, take a quick taste. Does it need a tiny splash more soy sauce for saltiness? A few drops of rice vinegar for brightness? A pinch of sugar to round out harshness? These micro-adjustments are what separate a great stir-fry from a merely decent one, and Chinese home cooks do this instinctively. Trust your palate in those final seconds before the dish leaves the pan. Number 9. Cooking your rice separately with no strategy, and it is aging poorly by the time stir-fry is ready. Day-old rice is not just a preference in Chinese cooking. It is technically superior for stir-fry because the moisture has had time to redistribute and the grains have firmed up into discrete, separate units that will not clump or turn mushy when they hit a hot wok. Freshly cooked rice has too much surface moisture and steam, which makes it gummy under high heat. Cook your rice the night before, spread it on a sheet pan to cool, then refrigerate it uncovered overnight. The next day, those grains are ready to be the perfect vehicle for high-heat wok treatment. Number 8. Not finishing with a high-heat flash before plating. One of the signature moves of Chinese restaurant cooking is a final 20 to 30-second blast of maximum heat right before the dish comes off the fire. This final flash evaporates any remaining excess moisture, sets the char on the edges of ingredients, and most importantly contributes to that final layer of wok hay development that is the difference between good stir-fry and extraordinary stir-fry. Push everything to the sides of the wok, let the center get screaming hot again for a few seconds, then toss everything together one final time before it goes onto the plate. Number 7. Not preparing your mise en place, and it is causing timing disasters. Stir-fry cooking at proper heat moves incredibly fast, often completing a full dish in under 4 minutes. Chinese cooks have everything, every ingredient, every sauce component, every garnish, completely prepared and arranged in order next to the stove before heat is ever applied to the wok. Americans often start cooking and then realize they still need to mince garlic or measure out soy sauce. By the time that happens, something in the wok has already burned or overcooked. Treat stir-fry preparation like a military operation. Nothing goes on the stove until every single component is staged and ready. Number 6. Not using a lid strategically for certain vegetables. Most people think stir-fry is always an open pan technique, but Chinese cooks use a wok lid as a precision steaming tool for specific ingredients. After searing broccoli or thick-cut vegetables with a quick toss in the wok, they add a tablespoon of water or broth, clap the lid on for exactly 60 seconds, and let the trapped steam penetrate and cook the dense interior of the vegetable without any additional oil or stirring required. After that 60 seconds, the lid comes off, the moisture evaporates in seconds over high heat, and you have vegetables that are properly cooked through with a beautifully charred exterior. Number 5. Discarding the wok drippings between batches. When you cook your protein first and remove it, there is an incredibly flavorful layer of caramelized meat juices and browned bits left in the wok. American instinct is often to wipe the wok between batches because it looks burnt, but Chinese cooks know those brown bits are pure concentrated flavor. Leave them in the pan, add a tiny splash of your Shaoxing wine directly onto those drippings, and use your spatula to scrape them up. They will dissolve into the wine, which then becomes part of your overall sauce base, with all that incredible, deeply savory flavor built right in. Number 4. Not understanding the role of sugar in Chinese stir-fry sauces. This surprises a lot of Americans, but nearly every classic Chinese stir-fry sauce contains at least a small amount of sugar, often just a quarter to half teaspoon. The sugar does not make the dish noticeably sweet. Instead, it rounds off sharp edges, balances saltiness, and promotes caramelization and browning of the sauce as it hits the hot wok surface. Chinese cooks use it as a seasoning balancer rather than a sweetener. When your stir-fry sauce tastes slightly harsh or too aggressively salty, a tiny pinch of sugar usually resolves the imbalance immediately. Try removing it from your next batch and you will immediately taste what it was doing. Number 3. Not managing your wok temperature during cooking, losing control of the entire dish. Stir-fry is not a set-it-and-forget-it process. During the 3 to 4 minutes that a stir-fry cooks, you are actively modulating how much heat you apply by controlling how quickly you toss ingredients, how often you move them to the cooler upper walls of the wok, and occasionally even lifting the entire wok off the burner for a second or two when things get too intense. Chinese cooks treat the wok like an extension of their hands, constantly reading the sound of the sizzle, the color of the ingredients, and the behavior of the oil to make split-second adjustments. Listen to your wok. A loud, aggressive sizzle is what you want. Silence means the temperature has dropped. Number 2. Finishing your stir-fry in the wok instead of plating immediately. Once your dish is done, every second it stays in the hot wok is a second it is overcooking and continuing to lose moisture. Chinese cooks plate their stir-fry with one swift, decisive motion the moment the dish is finished. Have your serving plate warmed and ready before you even start cooking. A warmed plate keeps the food at the right temperature without continuing to cook it. The difference between plating immediately versus letting a dish sit in the wok for even 2 additional minutes is the difference between crisp, tender vegetables with saucy coating and soft, overcooked vegetables sitting in pooled, watery liquid. Number 1. Skipping the water flash finish. This is the technique that separates restaurant stir-fry from everything you have ever made at home. What is it? Glad you asked. Right before you pull the dish off the heat, push everything to one side, let the bare metal go dead empty and screaming hot for 2 full seconds, then flick in 1 tablespoon of water or stock directly onto that bare hot spot and immediately toss everything through the resulting cloud of steam. That violent flash of steam does 2 things at once that nothing else on this list can replicate. It slams into the sauce, coating your ingredients, and forces it to seize and cling in a fraction of a second, giving you that glassy, restaurant-tight glaze instead of a thin puddle at the bottom of the plate. At the exact same moment, it carries the smoky char compounds that have built up on the metal itself, the actual physical source of wok hei, up off the pan surface and directly into your food, because wok hei is not something a home burner produces through heat alone. It is something you have to physically knock loose and steam onto the ingredients, which is exactly what a commercial kitchen's monstrous BTU output does automatically and what your home stove cannot. This is the one move you cannot get from a recipe card, a fancy ingredient, or a piece of equipment. It has to happen in the last 5 seconds of cooking, every single time, or none of the other 30 things you just did will taste like anything more than a well-organized vegetable sauté. This right here, the wok hei, the high heat, all of it. This is one technique out of over 900 I put in a full guide. I'll leave a link in the description box down below.